much for coming to visit tonight. It's not a lecture, it's not a political thing. I think it's really important that we make sure that we honor soldiers, fallen or serving, or veterans more than one day a year. And I think that there's a way to do that. Some communities are doing really great things, and the Legion does great things too, but this would be a great place, a hub for them to do even more. So I think children need to know in school why they're free. And I think there's lots of great ideas that I've been researching and hoping you have great ideas that we can put together in order to make our community one that embraces everyone who's willing to serve our country and teaches people to be grateful, because it's really, I think it's lacking across the nation, but it doesn't mean we need to lack here. So I think we can do a better job. So it's one of my projects. In 2015, I passed Yes Vets. And that was because I had a soldier who came in my office at the Capitol and said, I don't want money, I don't want, usually people that come in my office want money from grants, different things, whether it's state and government. He said, I just want a job. He said, I served my country, I came back, I can't find a job. My fellow soldiers are struggling to find a job, and we just want to work. And so is there any way you can help us? So we worked together with a lot of great people. And I think you helped on that too, Yes Vets. And we put together a bill that is hired over, I think, 10,000, I think was the last brief we got, soldiers through businesses. So you can make a difference. It didn't cost anything, right? There wasn't a big fiscal note to the state. I usually don't do bills that have huge asks from taxpayers or those that I serve. And so it was a non-fiscal when we passed it, and they've done amazing work, and they've gotten lots of veterans hired. So it's just from a soldier coming in my office. So this is my office. So tell me what else we can do to help those that serve. I think it's really important, and I think there is money available in some different ways to help. So we gave some money here for this. It's your money, right? So I'm going to try to drag it home versus Seattle every chance I get, right? So, but it's your money, and so I want to make sure that we're putting it to good use. And I would love to be the community hometown that really does everything it can for veterans. So I need to know what you need and what you think we could do. From as simple as asking teachers to send letters, having their students write a letter to soldiers that are serving from our area overseas. They need to understand why they're free, to as just inviting a veteran to your house for holiday dinner. I mean, I have a big family, I'm very blessed, and adding a couple of veterans would be fun. And so I think just little tiny things we can do to make a big difference in a veteran or a soldier's life. There's ideas around fundraising. We could put together a fundraiser for somebody who needs a dog for post-traumatic stress disorder. I love those projects, making sure, or build a home. There's lots of veterans programs to build a place or find a place for a veteran who's homeless. Suicide with veterans is extremely high, and it's unacceptable. So what are your ideas? This is your meeting. I'm just going to take notes. I'm the secretary today. So do you have ideas on what we could do, or what do you think, if you've served, when you came home, what were you missing? Right? You might have got a small check from the government, but what were you missing in your community that would have made a big difference that we can replicate and do in Goldendale or Clickadeck County?
So long ago, I can't remember that.
We had a gentleman come to our Legion meeting that was pretty moving, and it was about veterans. So I'm going to...
Have you heard of Reboot Recovery?
No.
Well, I hadn't either until in the Goldendale Sentinel, there was an article, and this gentleman, Roy Harrington from up north, got involved with this. It's a program that started in 2011. It's a 12-week program, one night a week, to help veterans that suffer from PT. Well, Roy said their D should not be on PTSD. He said, because we're calling people, you've got a disorder, but he said PTS is a very natural response to a traumatic issue. So anyway, we invited Roy down, him and his wife down, and they spoke to the veterans here, our meeting. And so we're going to try and bring this in, but it's a 12-week program that, according to what I've read off the internet, it's got an 81% recovery rate. Now, to what degree people are recovered, I'm not sure yet. I'm working on what levels that might look like. But evidently there's been thousands of people across America. There's not just a program for vets, but they've developed this into first responders, dispatch people. It can be, there's also just a general public program because growing up we suffer from various things, and some of the things that shape our lives are things that we'd probably do well to get put in our past. So this is developed into more than just one aspect of vets, but with the vets, it seems to be extremely successful. So my wife and I just got the material yesterday, I think it was, because we're going to try and bring it into the community. As George was saying when he spoke, it stirred some stuff for him. And that's what this does. It's not an easy course, but from what I'm understanding, it's gentle enough to bring people into receiving the recovery that they need. So this is a program we're going to start looking at here.
So how does it work? Are they a moderator? What if somebody
Yes.
struggled or got to a place where they needed help?
Anybody that's struggling with anything, there's a moderator. I guess I'm kind of falling into that position. And facilitate it. I guess they have a meal before they do their meeting. And the first 2 or 3 or 4 meetings, it's to get to know each other, because we don't like to tell the stuff that we're going through. It's not an easy thing. They do have a weekend course, but it's for, say, like groups of sheriff's department, police department, fire department, where the people are already working around each other. They already know each other's good, bad, indifferent stuff. And so we're not headed for that one right yet. That'd be more like for Sheriff Songer or whomever. But it looks like it's just very gentle in leading people into taking a look at what truly does bother them and having steps to get past it.
What's the cost?
I think he said it was like $450. I'm going to look at it. Now, my wife and I have been through a program that, it wasn't this, it was called Momentous, but it did something similar. But what we learned was that if you don't put a cost on it, now personally I think $450 is a little high, but I'm not the one setting the program up. But we've learned that if people don't put something into it, it's not worth staying for. Well, I didn't pay for that. I mean, and you're trying to tell me this and that and whatever. So there is a cost, and I believe he said $450. But once we get something going and see how it runs, we'll keep you posted.
Yeah, that's great. So what was your takeaway?
My takeaway,
Nice ring.
well,
Good song.
I don't know if heavy is the right word, but it sure struck, I just felt like just going into a corner, and I don't want to talk about it, and don't talk to me about this, and I don't want to hear it. And it brought up one major thing when I was on the police department, but that was pretty, well, I was working with a partner and he got stabbed, and
Sorry.
and we shot him. And I think about that all the time. But that's just one thing. I talked about it.
Am I understanding that this is in a group setting?
Yes, they say about 7 to 15 people max, keeping it small, so it's more family, more easily entreated.
Well, it's interesting because when I first started this work, I said, how do I help those with post-traumatic stress disorder? That's right, and I asked the veterans in Yakima. I went to the Legion, and they said, well, quit giving us a 25-year-old psychiatrist. Because they said they have no idea about what we've gone through. They'll never understand it. They might have passed some tests to have their degree, but we have to have each other. Because we're the only ones who understand. And I always thought that was really interesting. They were struggling financially, and so we were getting them some funding to stay open, right? And I was trying to do a bill to have them not have to pay tax on the food that they sell here, because it's soldiers. Why do they pay tax on food? It just didn't make sense. So, but I thought that was really interesting. They said, what you do is you give us these counselors, and they don't get it.
So I can expound on that a little bit.
Okay.
So I have 2 daughters. One's my daughter, another's a daughter-in-law, a psychologist, and the daughter-in-law is a psychologist with the VA. There's some missions that we knew that Gina knows about, final salute funerals. We take care of veterans who have passed. We interact with their family for a short time, but we all leave. And we usually show up somewhere for some fellowship. Talked her into coming to a couple of those missions. And there's anywhere from maybe 8 to 20 people afterwards. And after the second one, she comes up to me and she goes, they don't teach that in school.
Right.
And there is a missing element, and that's the interaction between the veterans, just like you see here today.
And many of these are closing across the state and the nation, so we need to fight hard to make sure they stay open for that reason. Because
I'll speak to that at the end.
good. Okay. Good. Yeah, that's a great step forward. And again, it would be. I think it's important to have a support group, probably, isn't it? Somebody that goes through it with you, and then you can help them if they need you.
I think so. I think, who was it just said, a 22-year-old or 23-year-old? You don't understand. You can learn, deal with the issue and learn some skills. Okay, and that's, I think that's part of the healing, is you learn those skills, but you gotta have somebody that understands why you're, I'm trying to use the right terms here. Don't come and tell me you know how I feel, because I'm liable to knock you on your ass.
Right. And we don't know how you feel. That's the thing, right?
So, yeah.
Right.
You don't. You may understand how I feel, but that's about as close as you're going to get. And so I kind of have a temper, but not like I used to have.
You have a great wife.
Yeah. Yeah, she'd be the one. That's why I just go to the floor first.
Well, and those younger people are probably using that position as a stepping stone. And then where you at, because you don't want to have to tell your story again.
Right. That consistency, I think.
Yeah. That just wouldn't be the way to do it.
My son's on active duty right now, and he sees things totally different because his combat has been totally different than what my generation of combat was. And then you throw my daughters in there, and they have no clue about any of it. So, and like, you know, you say there's all different kinds of things. Well, my son's right now in Alaska, and he just got promoted to first sergeant. He came home Friday night to see his kids down here in Seattle, and on Saturday morning, he got the first thing smoking on a MAC flight because he had a soldier commit suicide.
That's what we're
So
trying to prevent.
now he's trying to deal with learning that. And when he calls, I've never been through that, so I can't really help him either, other than listening.
They don't teach you that. They don't teach you that in first sergeant school.
No, I mean, it's just
Sergeant
one of them
major,
things,
They don't teach you any of that stuff.
you know, but it's one of them things he's got to go through that I never went through, you know. But I listen to what he says, and I can relate to some of the stuff, but it's just like with George. I used to be a cop here too, but I never had to pull a gun to shoot anybody here, so I can't relate to that either. And sometimes I have a hard time where they start adding everybody up to having PTSD who's never done anything in their entire life and putting them in the same category as a soldier. It's not the same.
Right.
What I went through as a cop and what I went through in the military have nothing to do with each other. I have to live with both of them now, but they're different as night and day, because the cops, you don't go out expecting to shoot anybody, and you go to combat, you know bullets are going to fly. So it's mentally in your head different.
Yeah, the state doesn't do a good job of dealing with suicide. I had a bill this year that didn't pass, which I'll pass it next year, hopefully, that had to do with the fact that we lost over, I think it was 1,000 kids to suicide. And so I did more research, and we're really good at thoughts and prayers, but we're really bad at figuring out why they did it. And so this bill made them lay out every single suicide case in the state of Washington and look for the nexus between them. You know, is it cyberbullying? Were they on medication? Were they abused? What's the commonality to try to figure out the problem? Because we're not asking the right questions. And so I have a mom whose son committed suicide in Yakima, and she said, every day I wake up and want to know why. And she goes, all I want you to do is figure out how to answer that question. Because right now, on the governor's website, OSPI, Office of Public Instruction, they have a statistic that shows that I think it's 62% of kids have made a suicide plan between the ages of like 13 and 17. That's just so unacceptable. I had no idea. And I've coached at the school here for decades, right? And I was around these kids, but to think that even one of them had a suicide plan, it is so much worse after COVID, right? Because they've been isolated, and we realized how important it is to have human contact, and they didn't have it. I'm so blessed to grow up when I did, because I didn't have this year of my life in my house, right? Yeah. So they're struggling more than ever, and we're trying to figure out how to reach them and figure out what's the commonality, what's the one thing. Montana did the same bill a couple years ago, and they're laying out every single case every year and trying to figure it out, try to solve the puzzle so we don't end up here. But we need to do that for veterans, right? Is it just too much? Did they not have enough? Were they not connected, right? We keep finding this connection piece where kids felt isolated, even in the classroom, or they just felt like they didn't matter, so then they act out and then they take their life. So I don't know, it's really important work, and we should do it for veterans just like we do it for teenagers, and figure out if there's something that's, I mean, it might be an incident when they were in battle, or it might be the fact that when they came home, they didn't have somewhere to go, right? Or they didn't have what they needed in order to rebuild and redo their lives. So,
Is there a suicide hotline that's for veterans that have been in the position that the person on the phone recognizes, like you guys
That's a
have
great
been
question.
talking about?
There is, go ahead.
I know there is a suicide hotline on Facebook for veterans. I see it all the time and repost it all the time. But as to who's sitting in that seat on the other side, I really couldn't
Yeah.
tell you.
Is
That's
it a
great.
veteran or is it the 22-year-old that,
right.
Yeah.
you know, trying to get his hours in so he can move on?
I know if I call Portland to schedule an appointment or confirm an appointment, they've always got a suicide hotline number that a person, if you're feeling like suicide, here's a number to call. Or call 911, whatever. I don't remember exactly how the conversation goes, but there is a,
Well, what I
relate
was
to
getting
it.
at, because I'm hearing that, but I'm also hearing a suicide hotline is not a suicide hotline for veterans going through issues that developed as they were serving their country. And that's why I was asking
Great
if it
question.
was a separate, if there's a separate one, or in the suicide hotline, is there, can you press button 3 and get an actual real veteran?
I like to say, I just keep reposting the number when I
Yeah.
see
Yeah,
it.
thank you for doing
But
that.
I don't know that this guy is full, or this gal is fully qualified
Yeah.
as a
Find out.
veteran.
That
Yeah, I can
would be
find out.
something to do on the state level or the suicide hotline level.
We have Lewis McCord that
Yeah.
could do something
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
or Fairchild.
Or at least a psychologist that's in the Army now, you know, would be
That
better
would
than,
get you there.
yeah, would
If
be
you,
better than,
if you could get it as a function on Lewis McCord to deal with it, because they've got the military psychologists, they've got the people who's been through the combat, you know, and it's kind of even hard to relate to, like I said, the younger generation of vets. I work with 3 of them, but they don't want to talk about anything they did because they want to get it out of their head, and they think that keeping it in their head is going to make it better. I've got one guy that's starting to open up, but they just, no, I don't even want to talk about my military time.
and I haven't been in the service. I've heard my dad's Navy stories, but is it different for an Army person versus a Navy? Okay, so
But it can
that's
be.
not an issue.
It depends on what you're
It
looking
can
at.
be.
Okay, John?
The purpose of the reboot program was to keep a small group, bring them together, and get things out on the table before they reached the point of suicide.
Right.
They were living with the trauma. They knew how to deal with it. They didn't know how to deal with it. Part of the program was to get them to open up and communicate. That's a big step.
Yeah, Brian said he would have never thought this kid would have committed suicide. There was nothing that he could see that would have led him to that. And like I said, he was gone less than 6 hours.
A lot of work to do.
And the kid who committed suicide is from Washington State too. So when you come across your,
Yeah, it'll come across the survey. Yeah.
out of Fairchild.
Yeah, that's- So what else can we do so we don't end up there? Yes.
I had something that just hit on my radar recently.
Sorry, guys.
That's nice. You have a nice ringtone too.
That's my alarm.
What's your alarm?
I was talking to a spouse of one of our local veterans here in town, and and her husband is service connected for PTSD and other things. I don't know. He's a Vietnam veteran. And she told me that something new that's been presented to her, and I hope it's not true. I told her that. I said, I hope you're not hearing this, right? But she said now that when a veteran is assigned to a counselor or psychiatrist, they only have 20 visits in a lifetime for psychiatric care or counselors or whoever they're seeing. And I told her, I said, well, surely after 20 visits, you must be up for reassessment for that to continue. And she said it was her understanding that they're trying to switch things over through the Veterans Administration, that after these 20 lifetime visits, they're switched to a group setting, and there's nothing wrong with group settings. But if you've been with a person for all these years and have to switch to a group setting and switch to a new person you have to tell this story over again, it's like kicking the chair out from underneath you. And it's truly upsetting to me, and it puts a knot in my stomach since I've heard it. And my plan since I've heard it was to go to Bill Smith, our veteran service officer, and see if he's heard about it. And hopefully it's not true, and put it on his radar.
Yeah.
So that's what I was gonna work on since I've heard that. I hope, so if anyone knows about it, if it's true, be prepared.
I can find out if it's true.
I'm gonna talk to Bill Smith in this, well, we're in a new week, so this week.
Yeah, and take my phone number and let me know, and I'll check too, and we'll figure it out together.
I hope it's not accurate, so.
Yeah, I do too.
so.
So speaking of the spouses, what can we do for the spouses in our community if they have someone deployed?
No.
Is there something we can
He's
do?
not correctly.
No, I mean, is there something we can do for the ones who are in our community who have somebody who's deployed that need help? Is there something?
Like the spouse needs help and
Yeah.
the members
Do we
deployed?
have, we are new to this community.
Welcome.
Thank you. Do we have knowledge of who our local heroes are?
Yes,
George?
we-
Not me, I'm not a hero.
But you are
Is
one.
there a list? Do you have a
We tried
list?
to get that information.
Yeah.
Is there a
And
way
through
to
the-
get it?
Some of the privacy acts, they won't even tell you what veterans are moving into the area, so you can contact them. And
I've found quite a few vets new to the area and didn't even know we had a legion.
So is there a way to get that?
Welcome
that's what we
packet.
were turned down on. We were looking for people that were discharged, moving it back to the community so we could contact them. And due to privacy
I
rules
think
and
all you can
regulations,
get
they
is the
won't tell you.
veteran population for the area, where they'll give a demographic from the census. Like say you have a population of maybe 16,000 and there's 12,000 veterans.
Yeah, but what good does that do? if you
It doesn't
don't
do
know
any
who they
good, but
are?
it gives you a broad number to kind of look at how many there might be.
I can tell you off the top, there's 35% of the population base from 100 to 0 that are veterans. But who they all are, you have no clue.
I understand your frustration. I put out the veterans flags at the Catholic cemetery, and when Mom and Dad couldn't do it anymore and I did it all by myself, I would come ask the Legion and I'd ask the church who the new veterans are this year. Finally, now I just go out there every now and then when I go visit my folks and I look for fresh graves, and then I try to find out who they are and then Google them to see if I can find an obituary, read it to see what it says, because I could never get an answer. And that was frustrating.
We get those from, I want to say the undertaker.
The funeral home.
He contacts us
I never thought about him.
through,
I figured the
for
Legion, I don't
one,
know.
if the family wants a military funeral, the right, okay. The other thing, he gets the flags for him.
Okay.
And it's up to the family to bring the flags to whoever they want to put out.
Funeral homes, no.
Thank you.
Gina,
Yeah,
there
I
should
never
be-
thought about funeral home.
Could I back
The
up?
military,
Just-
excuse me, go ahead.
No.
I said the military should put out some kind of an exit pass packet
Exactly, that's what I was thinking.
when they leave that gives the soldiers an idea where they can go. You know, you can get help at the Legion, you can get help here, you know, there. And
They
they
do
need a,
They do give.
At the larger bases.
Yeah, at the larger
They do.
bases, they do get that, but it's like if anybody of us remember, we get a pile of paperwork this thick,
Yeah.
and it gets lost in
probably
it.
here's your exit
Most of them
packet, and
just
that's
wanna
probably
go
all
home.
they say.
Yeah, they
That's
just,
no
you
training.
can't wait to get through the AFI station to get out.
Yeah.
And what is the base for Goldendale?
The closest one here would be Lewis McCord,
Okay.
or the Yakima
Yeah.
Firing Center, or Fairchild Air Force Base, Umatilla
Well,
Army Depot.
And
They
go to
don't
those-
ask you where you're going.
Yeah.
They just, I got out of Warner Robins, Georgia. Go to your local county, put a copy of your 214 in there, and contact Veterans Administration while you're
When I
there.
got out, I was in Egypt. They sent me home.
Don't they
That was a
used
nice
to, when
plane
you,
ride.
they discharge you, give you funds from the base you're at to where your home port was. Has that changed?
No, they'll still
At
do that, but
retirement, they'll pay
a lot of
for
guys
your
don't
home
go back there.
Desire.
Well,
I mean, I haven't been in Trout Lake in 6 years,
yeah, but
and it's only 50 miles away.
when you came home out of the military, you probably went home,
No,
visited your folks.
I went to California.
Okay.
Is there, I've just learned that we have a radio station, 1400 AM here. Someone that we all know and love tells jokes on.
She's famous.
Who would
Very
that be?
famous.
I just learned of that tonight.
And plays a kazoo.
Is there a attitude in this community where they might be willing to help us out
Oh, yes.
and say, you know, your local Legion is here for you?
How
Like a
about even
PSA?
the newspaper? Sometimes it appears they need things to print.
Or- Yeah, it does appear that way.
Or if we could find somebody coming home, put it on the marquee, welcome home.
See, that's what I
Something
thought.
else that I thought of.
Used to
You know
be
how
that way.
Right now, all of the
Really?
flags
I
are
would love to do that. Let's do that.
Because mine was actually in the Enterprise when I was coming home, and it actually was in when I went in.
So we don't do that anymore?
I haven't seen
That goes back to us telling you. They need
That's a
to
Vietnam
notify
era.
us when somebody's being discharged.
Yeah.
Well, and I see all of these banners for all of our wonderful graduates. Why are we not showcasing our military members?
There's one up there.
Because
he's joining.
the school prints those banners and the
He
Legion
already
doesn't.
Went in the Marine
But we
Corps.
could.
Wow.
And his,
Possibly.
And he
Yeah,
graduated
Get the school
this year.
print. There again, it's getting information to the guy with the printer to print those.
You know, every
He was gonna
hometown
be here,
news,
he had another meeting.
every
Otherwise-
hometown newspaper used to have a section in the news that said, so-and-so, such and such rank is graduated from basic training. So-and-so of such and such rank is being transferred to this station. Now, I get that that might be a privacy issue in today's day and age.
It used to.
Didn't used to be.
Used to do that here.
Yeah.
But I don't know why that,
Well, Lou's not a small town editor. Lou came from New York
so.
as a writer, and he doesn't understand the small community philosophy.
But we could get that
Yeah.
rolling where people felt proud to have that information known.
So can I back up just a little bit? Okay. I think, Gina, this is the American Legion across the nation. This is what all our posts look like. These are memorial posts to those who have gone before. That spirit is still here. It's in the hearts of everybody that's here. That's why they're here. That's why they're still here. But the secret to all our posts is right there at the door. So the challenge is to open the door and get people in.
Right.
open the door and get people out in the communities. One of the things that you asked about was the spouses of military people. The other thing was new parents of military people. That's what we're about. I challenge this post. There is a dinner or a celebration you can put on, because that's what we're about, celebrating the Americanism, right? And that's the Blue Star Banner Banquet. Put out a little flyer in the community and find out some new parents, and it's usually through your high school counselors who have young adults that have joined the military. Ask them to give a little bit of information, like maybe a photo of them in boot camp and a photo of them on active duty. Parents are proud of their kids. They're going to come to this Blue Star Banner Banquet, and that's when you honor them. And they see the new family. And that's what you were asking about, is how do these new parents interact with other parents
of a military person,
To help each
and they help each other answer those questions and interact. That's what this is about. That's just one aspect of the American Legion. That's the American Legion, the auxiliary, and even the SAL. So there's one tool that is there, ready to go to support Americanism and our new families that are in
Like
the
to
service.
piggyback on that, is I deal a lot with the recruiters. And I think that would be one way to get the information from them to here, to get in the paper, and then the information from them to,
Just
I haven't done a lot of work with them of late, but it's,
Just start
Easy
with
enough,
10
yeah.
names, 10
Right,
families.
exactly.
Just start with a few, because once you hand out a Blue Star banner and they put it in their window, people are gonna go, what's that about? Well, why did you get one of those? And pretty soon you're gonna have another Blue Star banner banquet. And you do that twice a
that's a
year,
great
once a
idea.
year, and that's honoring these new veterans and new service people, servicemen.
I'll say something on the flip side. When my son went to Coast Guard Reserve boot camp, part of his thing, I still remember a piece of paper, and it would have been right around the year 2000. What paper do you want us to notify that he was here? Well, we lived in Sherman County then, and they don't have a paper. And we thought, well, nobody in the Dalles is going to give a shit, so we never filled it out. Well, we can't complain because he never got the paper, and that may be part of it. And in today's world, well, the Sentinel, but I've never seen him put anybody else's, so they probably won't put mine.
I
So
think Lou would put it.
Okay, good, maybe he
He was
would,
gonna be
yeah.
here tonight. I think he's willing, and I
Yeah.
said that the headline should be fallen soldier, or, I mean,
Yeah.
the headline should be about big things that the military does.
yeah,
And so I think that's, I do think, and so back to the idea on not getting the information. So I love that the parents can give the information. If you have permission, if Lou has permission, he can give information on any
yeah,
of it, right?
yeah. I would think
So maybe
if we
that-
would have filled out the paper, then
Right.
we can't say that nobody ever
Right.
published it.
And
But
like-
it was us that dropped the ball because we didn't think anybody cared.
Right, and like Kevin says, that's what they,
Yeah.
you know, the parents are proud, they're gonna
They're
tell
proud,
you.
yeah.
And for us, and for the kids in the community to follow the path of a soldier through basic and through all these
Yeah.
different areas and just revere them, I think is
Yeah.
really, and then it helps the soldier know that we're here waiting and supporting them
Yeah.
the whole time,
Right.
not just on the parade at the end.
So
We were proud that his picture of his graduation was the one thing we fought over, one of the few things we fought over in our divorce. You know, we
It's
were
meaningful.
both proud, but, you know, in Sherman County, it didn't matter because we didn't have a newspaper and the Dalles was too far away.
Well, and I love the reader board idea, there's no
I
reason
do
we
too.
can't.
I do
That's
too.
really a great idea, yeah. We worked hard on the reader boards.
Yes, I did.
You
My
can thank-
mom worked hard on those reader boards in the
Yeah.
chamber for years.
We finally got it.
So let me give you one more with the school. And I've got several with the schools, but one more coming up with the school will be in November, Veterans Day. So go to the school, tell them you're willing to put on a Veterans Day program, about an hour. It'll be the first 2 years that you're doing it, but in the end, you turn it over to the student body to do it on
They,
their own.
they brought us
Do
to
that.
the school,
Yeah.
and they set us all in one area.
Yeah.
They
Show
do that
veterans in the
themselves.
community. But more importantly, to get that involvement back from the school, challenge them to put up a slideshow. of
They
the
do.
They do,
graduates.
they
Yeah.
do, they
Okay,
do.
Perfect.
Yeah, and they
Perfect.
write, Dad, they
On
do work for
Veterans
you.
Day.
They
Perfect.
write out what your service was and where you went from here to there. Do you remember when the middle school did that?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
actually had to
middle school.
stand up and
Yeah.
say
Yep.
what
Well,
service we were
And
from
they
when.
chose a
in
soldier.
uniform,
Yeah.
I remember that.
But are they,
Yeah.
That's why I don't have a goatee on right now, because I had to get it off.
but are they, I know they include you, but are they including the students that
It'll
have
grow back.
become, so to speak, the graduates?
At the
No,
high
no, I
school-
don't think they
So
are.
that's how you draw.
Yeah, that's a great
Well, at the
idea.
high school, before all this other nonsense started, one of the things that they would have students stand if they had
Family.
family in the military. which was pretty neat.
Also, several years ago, I'm guessing 10 probably, they had something with the school, I think it might have been a class assignment, and the kids, they had to interview a vet, and they wrote an article about them, and they made it into a book, because we have the book at home.
Oh,
And,
but
but there were,
some of you are in that book.
yeah, but I'm not sure.
Granddaughter did it.
Is that who did it?
Yeah,
Haley
and
did it?
it was
Yeah.
Haley did it.
Haley would,
Yeah.
yeah, I got your life story, yep.
Yeah, and Haley, the girl we're talking about, is now a member of the Secret Service.
Oh,
From here.
Yeah, she,
But she did, I don't know where she got all that information. I'm going, I didn't do that, I didn't do that.
you're just too humble.
You're lying.
You probably did all of it.
that's classified, I can't tell you.
But those are the important things to keep going in the community to ensure that we're including and drawing in the
Exactly.
rest of these new families.
I think they only did it the 1 year, and,
I don't remember who.
but
the-
it would be a good
who the
assignment
teacher
at
was,
school
but
for
yeah.
the kids. Krista
And
did.
That's gotta come from the administration.
It can be initiated by the American Legion.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes,
They want to do this stuff. It's just more work for them. But if it's initiated from the Legion and you turn it over to the student body as a project for the
yeah,
juniors,
they can take pride in it.
they
Yeah.
will,
Yeah.
and they will
Yeah.
keep moving it.
Maybe that's why I need to be on the school
I was just
board.
thinking that, I was thinking, you better have
Yeah,
your
no,
school board,
yeah,
you better
I
fix
saw
that. Good, I nominate you. He's gonna take Darren's place.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But those are great ideas, really great ideas.
Well, I know when my son was a recruiter down in California, he actually put it on Facebook and everything else when he actually got a soldier through all the process, and they didn't go out and get a DUI the week before they left and destroy 3 months' work, but he put it on Facebook where they were going, what their rank was when they come in, where they were expected to be duty assignments. But he did that out of California. I don't know, most of our guys would come out of the Dalles, I think. I think the Yakima comes down once or twice.
Thank God my mother didn't have Facebook.
Your wife does.
You can find out a lot, but you can always
But
shut
I
it
don't
off.
tell.
Yeah, those are great ideas. So what else can the state do to help?
I've got a whole list here that I'll save to the end.
Okay, perfect, good.
Well, I thought it's something you touched on it at the beginning about, trying to get employment. And pardon me, I've lived in Oregon for 36 years, so I'm still trying to unlearn that, but they had a program in their workers' comp, preferred worker, if you were injured, that they gave you a rebate on your workers' comp. Could L&I over here, if you have your discharge card, or whatever your form is, and you submit that, if the employer couldn't submit that with L&I and get a reduction on their L&I insurance, and maybe the state would have to support that in a way to keep L&I afloat. But, because I would think a military person would have better skills, would know how not to put their finger in a pulley where it shouldn't belong and how not to kill themselves, where maybe some of the other people would be at higher risk because they wouldn't
You're
have
asking
those.
to use the injured ones, right?
Well, oh, no,
Just saying.
The ones that are out on medical.
Yeah, yeah.
The state of Oregon requires 50% disability in order to have no-cost license plates on your vehicles. State of Washington requires 100%.
Oh,
Oh, that's an
It's
easy
a
fix.
big difference.
yeah.
That's a fix we could do. I didn't know that.
And
Save
those
money,
are
maybe.
expensive in the state of Washington.
Same with
And
the,
for a retired military member, the funds are not always there.
Right.
same with the state park passes, the
That's true.
fishing, hunting
Yeah,
licenses.
we've been
Requires
fighting that
And there
bill.
is no-
100% in Washington.
And there is no reciprocity.
Yeah, do they do it
I've
in
been fighting
Washington?
that bill.
In
They do,
Washington.
okay, okay.
One-
Yeah, if you're
100%.
100% disabled.
But in
Okay.
Oregon, it
Not very
requires
many
people
very
are.
little.
Yeah, we adopted.
That
it.
reciprocity
Our
one
kids
we've been
get
trying to
state
fight
parks
every
for
year.
free.
Ah,
If we could
As
get
long as we don't
Goldendale to do the same as Yakima, it'd be nice too. Because on my military, I have veteran insignia on it. They give me the passes up there. They want to charge me the $30 for each one here.
They give them to you?
Yeah, every
Wow,
time,
that's
and I've
great.
never been charged for it.
Wow, that's great. It's worth the
So,
drive.
so what's the
It's-
difference? Why the difference? What's the,
Personally, I've just found that it's a lot easier and a lot faster to take the drive all the way to Yakima and get my licenses and stuff taken care of than it is to use this courthouse. I mean, it's the people, their attitude is like, I don't care. I mean, I put my 214 in there on file and everything else, but if you try to go up there for something mundane, it takes you forever to get it done. You can go to Yakima and get it done. I mean, on my hot rod, I came back with the plates and they told me I had to wait 6-8 weeks to get the plates here. And I come back and put them on the same day.
For disabled plates, it's 16?
No, for my hot rod, collector plates.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, why does it take 6 to 8 weeks if I turn it in here and I can come home from Yakima with the plate?
They may be busier and just, they don't look. That's okay.
Yeah, well, to me, it's worth the while to drive up there, get the plate, and get it on my car and not give the cops the headache at trying to make sure they can see the temporary in the back window.
Is it 30% now?
Maybe.
what's that?
I'll find out.
Oregon might be.
There is a
30%.
disparity,
Big ones.
big one.
Okay. There shouldn't be. Okay. So other ideas, things in the community that we can do?
I got one more.
Okay.
So I come with some tools for the post. I got some stuff for you, but this last tool I give to the post, I will help you with if you want the help. So you speak of students and interacting with students. The hot topics are the Constitution and such. I can tell you on Constitution Day in September, there are RCWs and there are U.S. codes that require each school to provide instruction on the U.S. Constitution. They're
Are we
supposed
doing
to.
that?
I'm going to tell you 90% don't because they don't know what to do.
No, we're
But
not
I
doing that.
have,
We're not doing
School board.
She just volunteered you again.
You can fix that. That's what I'm saying. Or that's why I said, are we doing that?
I will give you the challenge with the tools and I will actually help you if you want me to. So there is a lesson plan called to sign or not to sign. You can look it up on the U.S. Constitution. I've started it at the Carson Post. We've done this since 2009. We contact the local high schools early in the year and the junior class because we have their attention. The seniors are leaving, and because the junior class is going to be the next one that's going to be voting. So the teachers put on a constitution, whatever they want to call it, some sort of contest. And we invite 25 students from the local high schools. And we invite 20 local citizens to the post. And I say we sit boy, girl, I mean student, adult, in the Legion. That gets them out of the high school into a new situation with adults. This is usually their first interaction with adults in such a thing. We start at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we have a working lunch, and they're done at noon. And we found out that when we went to this proposal to the school board with all of the whys, wherefores, the U.S. Code, the RCWs, and lesson plans, and all, they had no question. They did all of the logistics of getting the students there. All we did was provide the working lunch and the lesson plan. If you're willing to do that, I'm willing to come here and help you do that. And I'll share the lesson plans with you and what goes on with that. You can go right onto the Constitution site and look at to sign or not to sign. Teach them the importance of their signature and the importance of ratification.
Yeah, I've done that.
That gets the students in here so they know what's in this building, so they know what you're about. They will see your spirit and you will see their spirit. Believe me, the spirit still lives.
It's a great idea, and I'd help with that. So, Yeah, it was interesting, when I was in Yakima, their Legion meeting, there were a few, not very many, younger soldiers who had come back and were veterans. And I asked, where's everyone else? Right, where's everyone at? And they said that what they wanted was programs that they could relate to. And they wanted it to be a family place. So we were trying to brainstorm ideas like, maybe you could have a class in here that taught people how to use their cell phone, right? I mean, because that's something everybody really needs to know. And
Just have the kids do it.
yeah, but, or
We
he's,
hire our grandkids.
yeah, but I'm saying, there's some people that might not have them, or your computer, right? You could have a class on, he said, it'd be great if you had music that was my era music. Because I was saying, what can we do to have this a mixed age versus just the older veterans that were in Yakima? And so he has this whole list of ideas, and we're working on trying to figure out how to build that up so it's young and old and families,
The
right?
biggest problem, they asked it about music here, and the big thing is, most of the veterans my age and older, because I'm usually the youngest vet in here, we like it quiet. The younger generation wants their head blown out.
Well, that was probably you at one time, right?
In the 70s, yeah, it was.
But I think what they need to do is have a quiet time, right?
Well, but
And then
that's-
the other time they need to have it to where, and then they have like a family day where the families could get to know each other, like
Well,
you're
by 8
talking about
o'clock, all of us
networking.
have gone home to go to bed
See,
anyway.
perfect, see, perfect, that works out then.
That's just us old.
Yeah, but that, he said the music would bring him and his friends, and it would help the restaurant and bar. But he said it's quiet after 8 o'clock, so.
One thing that we're doing here, or we're working on, it's a proposal, it's on our list, is to put music in the building, but do it on the modern, the phone stuff with the Bluetooth stuff. But have it so it can either be up there or down here. That can be playing 70s music, and down here it can be modern or whatever. We're talking about that.
Great.
It's no problem, I got Bluetooth on my phone, I can pipe it right in.
Well, I don't, I'm the old man.
Can
Just got a
I
flip phone.
make an announcement?
Please.
Well, yeah, my name is Marlon Walling. I'm on the Goldendale City Council. I've invited the state director of the Washington State Veterans Affairs, and she will be coming down here in June 29th. And she's going to be bringing her deputy director. And the first thing we're going to do is go to the Stonehenge Memorial. We're going to have probably an hour tour of the Stonehenge Memorial. She really likes the Stonehenge Memorial. And then after that, then we're going to come up here for a luncheon right here in the American Legion. And I would like to hopefully, and this will be open to anyone or whoever you want to do. It would be not only your members, but also for veterans. She wants to talk about what the state is doing, and of course, Gina, you have worked a lot with her
She's
and
great.
passing a lot of bills. And I take a personal thing on the Stonehenge Memorial because I had two great uncles. Their names were on the plaque down at the Stonehenge. One on my father's side, one on my mother's side.
Wow.
And also we want to thank Gina for passing this bill that we can now have a restroom down at the Stonehenge
It's the
Memorial.
little things.
Yeah, and it should have been done 30 or 40 years ago, but anyway, that's another story. But anyway, yeah,
Still in
anyway.
high school.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, I just want to make that, and I hope we can have a good turnout here. I think she would like to listen to a lot of questions the American Legion has, and there were any veterans that they have, and I think she wants to talk about kind of the same discussion that's here tonight. What can the state do, or here's the problems that the state has. And I hope you're going to be
It's
here.
on my calendar,
Good, I appreciate that, yeah.
of course.
And so anyway, I just want to make that. announcement.
Yeah, what was it?
What day of the week?
Yeah, 29th
This
of,
one, this one.
it's on a Tuesday,
Tuesday.
June 29th,
You should
yeah.
put that on the reader board or the paper or the
Oh,
radio.
okay.
Radio would probably run it too.
I'll do that, yeah.
Yeah, Alfie, her name's Alfie and she's great.
Yeah,
She's-
it's Alfie Alberto, yes.
She's wonderful. She's done so much. If we have a problem or any of the veterans that we represent, we just call and she takes care of it. She has Heidi as her assistant.
Yeah.
And Heidi's great too. So if you have any issues with anything veteran, make sure you're calling my office because we do that a lot. Things get stuck and different policies
yeah.
and programs and,
Very knowledgeable. She's also, I believe, the president of the National.
yeah, she's amazing. She
Yeah.
has so much energy.
Yeah, right,
You'll really like her.
exactly. Well, we were Alfie and I, we're on a past committee together. We were on the Association of Washington Generals. And that committee doesn't exist anymore, but, but that's how I got the opportunity to meet Alfie, and I enjoyed meeting her and working with her, so.
Yeah, you'll really like her. I hope you can come. She's
Yeah.
fun, and she'll answer any questions, and she's great at follow-up too. So she'll make a list and take it right to Heidi, and Heidi takes care of it.
Yeah, right.
So,
Yeah, anyway, thanks a lot, appreciate it.
of course, yeah, I'm glad you're here.
Yeah,
Good.
thank you.
So with your military service, what didn't happen that should have in your community?
Well, I don't know, of course, I'm from Bickle, originally from
Sure,
Bickle, and I
that's-
remember when you talked about the newspaper, I remember my picture was in the Goldendale Sentinel. And I don't remember now how it got there, like Dallas, don't quite remember, what happened that long ago, but it was, it just come home. But I did see a lot of things that how the military were at that time were treated. I mean, when you come home, you didn't even want to wear your uniform. And when you went off base, you didn't wear your uniform. And yeah, that's the way it was then. And so.
I thought it was like that in the first Gulf War. Made everybody get civilian clothes in McGuire.
Oh, is that right?
Flew
Wow.
back home, we were the only guys came home in civilian clothes out of everybody in the unit.
Because he remembered what it was like when,
Getting spit at because you got a damn uniform.
Yeah.
It sucks.
so he made them all change. And the people in uniforms were being applauded through the airports,
Yeah. that's right.
countrywide.
Yeah,
But the guys that were old
Did
school
I-
didn't know that would happen.
yeah.
It
Yeah.
should have happened.
Yeah. We lived, we learned.
So what about teaching the youth to say thank you, right? And for your service? Like, it's so great when people wear their hat. So you see someone with a military hat on. My mom and I were in Yakima the other day, and I just saw this guy just saying thank you for your service to our country, and their whole face lights up. So if we could teach the next kids to do that, it's such a simple thing. It's free. I mean, maybe we should do a fundraiser and buy everyone a military hat that serves. I mean, from each branch, right? I mean, we just need to create a custom or a culture in our community that's embracing and positive and
So I go to a lot of those. And I can tell you in the rural communities, people will stand and salute the flag when it comes by. I can tell you in the other communities, it's not done like that. But I will stop and I will thank each person that stands and salutes. If
that's
if
great,
there is
yeah.
somebody standing there with a military hat on, I will stop and salute him.
We have a lot to do
It's proper
with-
and it needs to be done, and I think that's what's called inculcation. We need to do that ourselves in our own communities and
Set
wherever we go.
example.
It's setting the example.
We have a
and it's
lot to
free.
do with whether or not that goes on.
Yes.
We do, we have more. And I have to tell you something that I heard the other day. I think the standard reply when you're thanked for your service is, "My pleasure." I heard someone the other day say, "You were worth it."
oh,
I think
Wow.
Goldendale
Think
showed
about
that
that.
too.
that is so great.
When we brought the wall here,
Yeah, right.
because everybody was on Broadway.
And that's what should happen, more than just that. So how do we make that happen more than just that?
When I have my hat on and I go through the lines at the grocery stores or whatever, I get thanked all the time. And it's not always by the same person. So I think
does every
it's
veteran
there.
have a hat with their military insignia on it? Can we
No.
get them one?
No.
Can we fundraise or?
And let me tell you the saddest part of that. people are readily thanking the male serviceman. And there may be a spouse standing right next to him that served too, and they're not
Interesting.
recognized. And that's what
Because they don't
we,
normally wear a hat.
that's what we really have to pay attention to,
A female
is the
soldier.
women who have served just as well.
Right.
Or my wife spent 20 years chasing around the world with me.
There we are.
She
Right, that's the spouse
earned it.
piece. So what did you need? What could your community have done while he was serving our country?
I was very blessed and I had a very supportive community, but it was because I went and looked for it. I had to seek it out. I was very blessed that I had a very supportive community. And I spent some time in the first sergeant's office waiting for an answer, and I told him I'd bring a cot if I had to, and he gave me the answer. You know, there are people who don't have that.
Right, so how do we be their voice?
I was very proactive in organizations that supported deployed spouses, but it takes someone that leads, and not everyone. You know, for instance, this thing about the Constitution, I am so excited about that, and I want to be a part of that, because if these kids know this stuff, they are set up so much better for life. I am really excited about this Constitution Day.
So I'm gonna be here then, right?
Yeah,
I hope so.
I'm here.
we should.
You know, it's just, and spouses are, you know, a lot of us are very silent. I don't happen to be one of them.
She's the one that took all of our kids to the grocery store once a week. Went shopping. When we moved, she took all of them on a transcontinental airline.
Well,
Right.
but I wasn't alone,
No.
you know.
We should get contact information so we can connect with her. So we can, anyone that wants to help with the Constitution Day, I think that's a fabulous idea.
Right here's a straw.
Thank you. Thank you. And you're a good fellow to be involved with this too. We had a conversation earlier. I'll bet you're just chomping at the bit for that.
Well, I'm pondering, but I'm also pondering
Yeah,
this
you
way.
got a lot going on, don't you?
And my wife's so going there, what about me? What about me?
You can do both.
Well, if you want to help with that, write your name down, because
Yeah,
I think
I'll
that's a
put my
really
name
great
down.
start.
Actually, I'll write my wife's name down.
You need to
You'll
help
pay
us
for
get
that.
them to school.
Yeah.
So we do need to actually.
Is there?
You can always kiss and make up.
That's
It's
it.
canceled
Yeah,
this
this
year.
year.
Okay.
This year's canceled.
The auxiliary's talking
Information
about.
with Boy State, Girl State I'll give you is, over here in 5th District, we've created a line item at a post to hold money for transportation, because every year it's transportation. The American Legion pays for 320 seats.
Wow.
We've never had that in the past 10 years. We've had maybe 160 seats. So what we need are names and students that will actually go. Before it was the hang-up was the transportation up there and back was the hang-up. So I think we've got that somewhat resolved from the mid-gorge area up. I've had people being driven from White Salmon up there. A guy, Ed Lamont, bless his heart, has driven the kids up there and back. So I think that's what we focus on as posts, trying to make sure the transportation's there.
We have a school bus.
Because we've got
You've got
that.
something to write with, huh?
Yes. She didn't deliver.
No, it was up north of Seattle.
Oh, that's why transportation's.
Yeah, it's a big deal. Big deal for us down here because it's 3 hours, right?
So what are we missing? So who hasn't spoke yet?
Didn't you have a couple of things that you wanted to bring up?
Let me
With
see.
her, when she's ready.
Melinda, do you Dallas have something you want to add? Or are you just trying to learn? Is there some we're missing?
just sitting here enjoying.
I'm so glad to see you.
I can tell you about my musical career, but I'll skip that.
I'd like to hear.
I don't think you do either. You really wouldn't want to hear it.
Didn't bring his groupies with you.
Dad, you want to add anything?
Just learning.
Yeah, good. Okay. Do you want to add anything? Is there some ideas, comments, questions? Anything you can think of? Anything we can do that we're missing?
I think the key's the door here. The key
Yeah,
is
I
the
think-
door in
yeah, I
all
think
of our
you're right.
posts is opening it up somehow. This is a private post, but we can open it up to get people in here for certain events. But most certainly, we can open it every day to get our people out into the community. There's a lot of spirit left right here, right? It's all in your
Absolutely.
hearts. I challenge you to use it, and I'll help you use it.
Great. Good. Okay, so write your name on this list if you want to help with some of these projects, starting with the Constitution
Make
Day.
sure you get Gina's name on there.
My name's on all of it.
So-
I'm happy to help.
If we're gonna do this, it doesn't have to happen quick. I got the material, but I'd like to send, I'd like to have a face-to-face with the high school vice principal and a student counselor and maybe a rep of the junior class.
Should do it before school gets out.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's
Now.
pretty quick.
That's
Yeah.
what I mean, right now. So
Great.
usually I send out these letters in late July and then have a sit-down in August. And the teachers run with it. They're really looking to do this, they just don't know.
Right.
So we're just giving them the opportunity to do it. It's really easy to do, it
Yeah,
really is.
that's a great start. I think
It is, and it gets us back into school. It gets the students in
Right.
here.
And having a soldier as an assembly feature,
Same thing.
telling, I
same
mean,
thing,
those are so
same thing.
important.
Yes.
Building that mentorship.
Yes, that's Americanism.
That's right.
Right.
See, that's right.
Do you do this just with the high school, or what about the middle school?
I was wondering that too.
I try to focus on the junior class because they will be the ones eligible to vote within the next year. Because that's what we're teaching them is the importance of their signature and the ratification clause.
But what if we started planting seeds in middle school?
Yes, there's other lessons plans to do in the junior high, but we've found that it's the junior class to focus on and it works best with.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'll give you another thing. It's also our civic citizens that think they know, okay? That's why we invite some civic citizens there. And I'll tell you another person, they'll come in a bus and the bus driver will try to sit outside. I go out and invite the bus driver in. Yes, it's about a family. It's about us as citizens.
Great.
It's a good time.
Good. Well, thank you. Anything in closing?
Yes, I got some stuff for you. These are easy things.
Okay,
So Gina, this is being sent to Alfie too,
good.
as an email. I don't have your email, but I'm sure I will. If not, she'll share it with you. I'm going to leave this with you. These are some simple things. It's what's left in the cracks. Okay, these are RCWs and WACs already established for the American Legion. The American Legion posts are the key to all of our communities because these posts can be that family setting because we are a family. We're Legionnaires, we're auxiliary, we're SAL, and the community needs to know that. The first one I'm going to leave you with is an RCW that was created just 2-3 years ago, actually 4 years ago. As far as the American Legion is concerned, there are no unclaimed veterans anymore in Washington State. The RCW was created that each county must designate a proper authority for the disposal of the veteran, and it was amended to include the spouse in any parts. That's the first simple paragraph. The next simple paragraph is that burial will be paid out of the Veterans Assistance Fund. That's his last, or their last request. So we've created some instruments through other counties. We just brought it to them, and I've got the examples in here. Some counties have already created the resolutions that declared the American Legion as that proper authority. That does not exclude any other organizations or any other things. It's just for the immediate need. So what that does at the funeral home in the cemetery district, that relieves those liabilities from them. So when they can't find the immediate family, that will dispose of the veteran or their spouse, even though there's other family members. At that point, the American Legion can step in. We don't have to wait the 90 days. We can work with the existing family, and we can take care of the final honors that are needed. So that is there. It's an education process in our posts, but most importantly, I go county to county whenever that arises, because I'm the state captain for the final salute for the American Legion. So that's the first thing I do when I get contacted. The worst county I thought it was going to be was King County. They did it right away.
Really?
So that was a big, big breath. But anyway, enough on that one. The next one is an RCW about the right to pedal and vent. At the frontline office, they all know that as an individual, but it's a two-part RCW. Second part is a business, organized, created by an act of Congress. That is the American Legion. We're created by an act of Congress for us to have a kitchen, for us to have resale. We have to have those licenses, but they should be at no charge. But at the front line, there's no trigger to have that happen. There is for churches, because counties will say churches don't pay because they're C3s, but the American Legion is typically a C19 veterans organization.
So is there any in the state of Washington that don't have to pay?
Yes, my post doesn't, because I argue that with the county all the time.
Really? Okay. we
So
need to talk
it
then,
is,
'cause-
it is there, but it's in the RCW. It's stated that way.
Yeah.
The next RCW, I want to talk about, let's see, it's a
So
right
you
to
shouldn't have to pay
pedal.
either here. That'll help your revenue.
Yes, it would.
That's a big deal for these posts.
Mhm.
So what you've seen of our posts, we are all the same. We're struggling,
Mhm.
right? We're struggling with, we still have that spirit of the 20-year-old. I know you all do, but we're tired.
Mhm.
We need to get those young people in here, but it's to keep the post open. We are not facing anything different than they didn't face in the 1940s, okay? Same conversations, I'm sure. It's still here. It will always be here as long as we take care of the spirit. So keeping the post open, keeping it viable is important. But when we struggle day to day trying to help veterans with money and at the same time trying to pay the fees to stay open, that's where Washington State created those RCWs and WACs. That's what those were for. They didn't name the American Legion, but they stated, just like our preamble, and how we were created by an act of Congress. We are the only organization that reports to U.S. Congress every year.
Wow.
They're the ones that help create the VA. The third one is the WAC on property tax exemptions. We are exempt from property taxes, yet over the course of decades, because we are laymen, when we go to that front office and they say, you owe property taxes, we sign a check. Okay? That's wrongful. We have posts that are fighting that now. We can use your help in fighting that. The second part of that is, once we are exempt, we're exempt in perpetuity, forever and ever. There's another part of that, of the WAC, that states that there's a yearly filing status, and if you don't file each year, then you're no longer that. We're exempt from that because of the applicability of it. It states non-governmental nonprofits, and when they read through the bold, they don't read that part. We are a federal corporation. We're a federal nonprofit. We're exempt from the yearly filings. So those are things that are already in place. I'm going to give this to Alfie. I've spoke with you a little bit about the highlights of them. That just needs to be brought down to the manager and the frontline person, because the frontline person, it's not their fault. They don't have that trigger. But of late, Mr. Inslee stated that we don't have to pay for our kitchen license or a business license. Well, when you go into the automated system, you have to pay. And when you pay, there's no trigger there to say zero owed. Fix the online automated system if you're going to do it. It's nice to say that it's done. It's not done. Our post just had to go through that.
Can you come when Alfie's here?
I will come when Albie's here. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you should
Normally, we
connect
just
with
exchange
each other.
emails.
Yeah, emails.
Oh, I
we
see.
sit on the,
Send it, yeah.
yeah.
Send him the information and then he can bring these to Alfie too,
Oh,
instead of
you
just
want her-
mailing to
you
him.
got, you have her email.
Yes.
That was just-
I
okay.
do.
No, yours.
Hers and Heidi's.
Oh, okay. Well, it just
I'm gonna send
Walling
this-
at hotmail.com.
But I wanna know when to come here.
Oh, wait, you walk in with that, not
So-
an email, you know, maybe again.
I'm the public relations officer for the American Legion State, but the commander's gonna be here for that one if I can get him.
Great.
Yeah,
So he needs to be here for this.
That would be
So these are, I believe, simple things because they're already been established.
Yeah, no, I'd
But
love
for
to fight
us,
for those.
for 160 posts in Washington State, this is a big deal. And this is how we help our veterans. If you help the American Legion, which you already have,
Well, there's more to do.
over and over and over again, but there's many Legion posts out there that are struggling, and this
Right,
is a big
and
deal to
closing.
them. We're trying, if we hear people trying to close a post, we try to rally and keep it open, but it's difficult to do, it really is. But getting out in the community is the key. It is the key. People want to be part of something good, they're looking for that family spirit again, and it is here.
Good. Excellent. Well, I don't want to keep you longer, but I'm very grateful that you came. And please reach out anytime, and we have work to do. So let's make our community the one that's military friendly and is leading the rest of the communities. That's our goal.
Thank you for coming.
Absolutely. No, thanks for spending your time with me tonight.
Yeah, you had to come a long ways.
I know,